episode of Talking Sports. I am Marvelous M.R. Richards, and I've got a very, very exciting guest for you, but we will have him on Zoom. But before we bring him on, I will just like to let you know that Talking Sports has been brought to you, of course, and made possible by our platinum sponsor, who is ACB Caribbean, over 63 years of banking and 43 years of sponsoring the Parish League cricket. And they are a company that you can certainly bank on. So for all your financial and banking needs, be sure to check them out. They are situated at the corner of Thames and St. Mary's Street, right here in St. John's. So ACB Caribbean, simply smarter banking. Also Blue Mountain Water, the great tasting water, and also the purest that you can get. And if you need to get some of these and to have them in your supply, please, you can check out the mega distributors, and they are situated on American Road. Also, Cecil Charles Group of Companies, through its pharmacy, Seco, and for all your medical needs. And they are situated right here on High Street, along with Hutchison's Limited, agents for Pine Hill. So whatever your fruity flavor preference is with Pine Hill juices, you can get them all at Hutchison Limited, and they are on the Factory Road. Also, plumbing and electrical for service and good deals. Everything plumbing and electrical, all at one stop, and they're on the Potter's Main Road. And of course, Plan for Less, where you can get all the brand name products for men, women, and children, and you don't pay much for them. And they are situated also here on High Street. And remember, we are on YouTube and Facebook Live, so we're asking you to share and to also like. Now, to introduce you to our very special guest, what should I say? He was born right here, here in Antigua, and he holds an MBA in finance from Rochester Institute of Technology and a Bachelor of Science degree in accounting. I hope I have that correct, my good friend, without giving away anything else there. In accounting, yes, and he got that from the St. John's Fisher Institute, and he's a graduate of the United Way's African American Leadership Development Program, and has been part of the program faculty. He's also a board member of the Highland Hospital Common Ground Health. Look, there's so much. Before I tell you everything about my guest, I would just like to introduce him to you and to welcome him to Talking Sports. He's none other than Jerome Meadow Underwood. Welcome to Talking Sports, my brother.
Good afternoon, MR, and good afternoon to all of your audience, in Dudley, in Barbuda, and beyond.
Mm-hmm. Well, after I started saying all these things about your accomplishment, really, maybe people in your age group would know that you were also a national player, a football national player, and I would think that you have used sport to get you all these other things that you have accomplished. Would you say that is a fair statement, my brother?
That's not fair. That's what I call 108% correct.
Yes.
Certainly, that game that we love so much, from myself and so many others, is a means to an end. And football, it's life. So it created so many opportunities, not only for myself, but so many others that I'm aware of, as you say, in our age group. But yeah, the football. That's it. I met my wife on a football field.
Wow. you got a lot of things through football, man.
yes, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah, so tell us some of the players that you might have played with, and perhaps who you have caught up with on the college or the university scene.
Well, when we say playing, the first playing is home. And when I say home, I'm talking about in the street, in Villa Park, at Judge Bay. You know, those are the first sort of organized football that we played. School football, playing in, you know, what Treasury Yard, playing on concrete and slide tackle. I think I still have some leg marks, some slide tackling on concrete inside the old Treasury Yard. So, but in terms of playing, my teammate that I can remember most is Mark Christian.
Right. Oh,
younger brother to Joe. Younger brother to Joe. Yeah. Younger brother to Joe. Mark and I have been together probably since elementary school. Oh. And we're still linked at the hip. I talked to Mark last week or the week before. Mark is in Detroit. So just coming up through the ranks, so to speak, and playing organized school football, to community league football, you know, in Point and Villa, to, you know, as I talked very briefly pre-show, to when it was the great Danny Livingston, who they came to Dredge Bay and tapped me on my shoulder and said, hey, we're putting together a team, a U18 team, national team, to go to Princeton University. And my illustrious teammate, Everton Bato Gonzalez, who was captain of that team, Bato and I, who represent our turf, so to speak, in that team. But we had so many amazing players on that team, like Nick Zed, like, may peace be upon him, Alistair, Mojo, who has passed away, like Dodo, who's also an ancestor now. So many amazing players, like, who should have been on that team, Ganton, but them time they don't love Rasta people, and they say Ganton and them can't go because they have blacks in the, you know, team, you know, so many really good players. Wishbone was on that team. Wishbone was my sweeper. We had an amazing team, and that was, you know, an amazing tour for us. But even prior to that, playing for Villa for a short time, a short time, was, you know, Villa have a lot of wonderful custodians, and just looking back in your archives, I saw you interviewed my big brother Andy Joe Christian and my little brother Lester Benjamin, but I noticed he didn't say it was to Villa man. You know,
no, that's why you're here. You let everybody know a Villa don't come from.
Yes. So I mean, sports, you know, football and basketball to a lesser extent for me were just ways that we organized ourselves and literally stayed out of trouble, and it ended up football being a path for me to come to Rochester an amount of years ago, and allowed me to get an amazing education. And the thing is, when I came to Rochester to try out for St. John Fisher College, I just knew, Emma, that I was going to get a football scholarship. I knew that was, you know, because I would have played better than the guys that didn't happen to field. And at Rochester, at Fisher rather, I played striker. You know, as a matter of fact, in a Villa, you had to be able to play anywhere on the field. Right. Anywhere. And, you know, I was one of those people. But when the coach said, you know, the trial game, I scored 2 goals in the trial game, and the coach said, oh, we have to get you here. And I said, well, there's one way I know, guarantee I can get me in is if I get a scholarship, because I came to Rochester on my own. It was, like I said, it was a program of one. We won.
Okay.
You know? So, and then the coach, who's a friend of mine to this day, said, well, we cannot give financial incentives to athletes. Right. You know, because we're third division school now. We didn't understand the language at the time. So I said, talk English. Right. You know, he said, well, we can't give athletic scholarships because we're NCAA third division.
Right.
Well, my heart kind of broke at that time, and as I turned, because I thought that was the end of it, and he said, well, how are your grades? Well, that was the question. That was a game changer. And I said, well, if you like my football, you're really going to like my grades. And what that turned out to, MR, is I got a 4-year academic scholarship.
Fantastic.
You know, yeah, so that was the game changer for me. And that, you know, I attended Fisher from 85 to 89.
Yeah, but tell me, your father, yeah. I can remember Mr. Underwood. He was an elegant left-handed
all-rounder.
All around, yes.
Yeah, let me say it for you.
That is so true.
Yeah.
And I think he played a couple of years with St. John's Cricket Club, if my memory
Quite a few.
serves me correct.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. But how come none of you guys got interested in cricket and you guys went to football?
You know,
Go to the family goalkeepers at the start.
Yes, I have to big up my older brother for sure because Jerry, he wanted to do what your big brother do, and Jerry was, we could have played football, but Jerry was a goalie and we want to goalie too because but daddy was a cricketer, he really couldn't play nothing else. Well, my lie, he could have played table tennis.
You had more to go with it too, more to go with it,
So, cricket, couldn't play cricket, but yes. But I used to go with him a lot with St. John's, and I would be a statistician. I would score, because the cricket you have to keep good records, So, and I got to see people like Pacer Williams and them play, and Camacho and them, and so many of the Skipper Gould, so many.
Call another villain, man, boy. Well, you're all right. Go ahead.
Well, it is what I saw.
Okay, then.
Pacer Williams, they come from Pacer Williams come from Sweets.
Bolans, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So those are people who impacted me just seeing them growing up. But I did wicket keep for academy a little bit. But it was never. When Sidney Warren came, but I was not that good. They had people who were much better at cricket, than myself. But basketball, I also played quite a bit of basketball. And did play basketball for Academy's team as well. So, there's so many people at home like myself who play so many different sports, but yeah, we excel at football.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so now how did you get involved now with the what is the African art? What is it, the ABC?
ABC, as a matter of fact, this wasn't even deliberate, but I'm wearing my shirt now. ABC, I'm fortunate to be the president and CEO of Action for Better Community Incorporated. Essentially, we work for the poor, and we try to work ourselves out of business. Briefly, ABC is what's called a community action agency. Which in this country, there are about 1,000 of us across the country. And the Community Action Agency group, if you will, the network was put together by legislation back in 1964.
Right.
In the passage of what's called the Economic Opportunity Act to launch the war on poverty in this country back in 1964. How I got involved with ABC, believe it or not, was through volunteerism. Back in 2006, I was working at a firm called Datros Industries. I was a chief financial officer for a business process outsourcing firm. And the then CEO of ABC and the chairman of the board, they needed someone, they were looking for people to serve on the board's finance committee. And I had sort of made a name for myself as, having some competence around money and finance, having had a career in banking before I went to be CFO of Datros. So I remember them coming to the company and asking my then boss, Datros was a black-owned company, run by and owned by my number one mentor to this day, a gentleman by the name of Bill Rose.
Okay.
And they asked Mr. Rose, can we, if he would let me volunteer some time helping them on the finance committee. That was 2006. 2007, they asked me to join the board. And 2008, they asked me to chair the board. And I remained chair of that board for about 7 years. So I remained on the board for 8 years. And shortly, because I had stepped down in 2015 from the board for some other reasons. And, a couple of years ago, about 4 years ago, the then CEO he called me one day because I consider him a mentor of mine, James Norman, and he said he was getting ready to retire, after 25 years of being a CEO, and he told me, you should apply for the job. He said, either you apply for the job or you're going to head up the search committee. So what the agency does, as I mentioned, we work for the poor. We try to work ourselves out of business. I applied for the job, and it was a national search, and I was selected, and that's coming up on 4 years ago. So it's a real proud moment for me to run a very, very illustrious agency. We're a large not-for-profit. We have over 400 people who work here, and the way we look to counteract poverty is primarily through education. And MRU, or some of you listeners may have heard of Head Start. The largest thing we do, we early childhood education. We have about maybe 1,100 children between the ages of 3 and 5. Some people call it preschool. So we run that. That's our largest program that we run. We also do a lot of workforce development in training people for their life of employment. And like we say, it's very easy to get a job, but it's harder to keep a job.
That's right.
We have also a substance abuse clinic where people who are suffering with whatever the addiction is. We have counselors who try to get them, to get away from that addiction. We also work with people who are suffering from AIDS and HIV to make sure they have adequate health care that doesn't interrupt their ability to earn a decent living for themselves.
Right.
We have a street, an anti-violence street crew we call SOY, SOY, short for Save Our Youth. So basically, from a very early age all the way up to the life cycle, we try to make sure we put people on a path to economic self-sufficiency and social emotional self-sufficiency. And like I said, we try to work ourselves out of business. Unfortunately, that's not in the foreseeable future because of just the economic conditions and the deep-seated racism that this country finds itself in.
And it must be a good feeling, doing all this kind of work. It was always kind of new to help others, ain't it?
Well, I tell you, that comes from, shame on me, before I started talking, I should say, Mommy, good evening, right. To my mother.
That's my girl,
my siblings, most of them are home, and my oldest brother is in Antigua. But where that comes from, Emma, is from our maternal grandmother, Miss Janie, who most people know as selling in the market at stall number 1. Granny was, sort of, and still is, the inspiration for many of us, and she always told us just to help people. Right. Whatever you do, help people and do no harm. So that sort of resonates between me and my siblings, and when we look at the work that all of us do, it's almost all human service work and working in service of other people. So when I was working in corporate America, I was doing a good job, but it didn't have that, if I'm a good CFO, who's better for that? The company I'm working for. But working in the human service industry, if we do a good job, like I said, we work ourselves out of a job, and people benefit, individual families benefit by our work. That feels really, really good.
Right. But tell me something too, right? What was your mother's first name? Joan, okay.
Just like my sister Joan.
No. I'm just beginning to look at the whole family now and see is a J on the wood.
It's a J and G.
J and G.
Because Jerry is a G.
Oh, J. Oh! I thought Jerry was a J too. Because I'm saying no.
J is for the good one, and the nice people in the family. The G, like Jazz on the wood.
Yeah.
Gerard is his name. No, just to be serious.
It looks like if that was a strong influence that your grandmother had on you guys, because I know that Joan is also your sister, is also doing some incredible work too. And she just
Yeah,
finished
and my other sister, Jasmine, you know, of
See,
whom we're
Jasmine
just,
J now again.
yeah, exactly, of whom we're just, I'm so proud of my two sisters because my father got is 6 sons and 2 daughters.
Right.
You know, and the 2 girls follow right after me. I'm third in line, second in line for mommy, third in line for daddy.
Right.
But my, you know, we're J's and G's, you know, primarily. We have a couple others, like my younger brother, Ranks, as many people know him as Ranks. Ranks is Trevor, so, you know, and my oldest brother, Lincoln. But less than that is just J's and G's.
J's and G's.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I remember you had a son too, who was, you know, who is a talented player. What has become of him? Because
I have 2 sons who are talented players. You met one.
oh, that's right.
You know,
one when you met him here, yeah.
Yeah, our first son.
You sent me some photos of him. Yeah.
Yeah, our first son.
Office, you know.
Yeah, that was wise of you. Yeah, that was that's some coach.
How are they doing?
Yeah, he's you know, he's not playing much ball now until his friends call him and say, you know, let's go play. But did play at one point, and that's why I had to tip my hat to him. He did get a knock with the Barracudas when they were playing several years ago. Like nobody ever gave me a check for playing football, but I did get a fantastic education out of it. And we have another son, Shakir, who was a staunch defender in his own right. So yeah, we have, my wife and I have 3 children, the 2 of them, and surround their sister, the Bali.
Right. They have the sister in parentheses, eh?
Oh, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. But that's a good thing about it, eh? And just to get back to what you said a little earlier about using education, you know, to improve yourself and whatnot, you know. You know, when these kids, you know, get an opportunity, they may not all make it to be a Messi or Maradona or Ronaldo or whatever it is, but if they can get a good education, at least they can get a good job and they can take care of their family, you know. And
without a doubt, and I would take it a little further. It's not only to improve myself, and my family, but to improve the community in which we reside. So that's what Granny put into us. It's not just, you know, taking care of your family, but those around you. Because if one person is suffering, everybody suffers. So that's an ideological framework that certainly I possess. You know, it's very much in alignment with what I consider to be my purpose on the planet. The reason I'm given oxygen to breathe is to, like I said, to work in service of others. And I was very, very fortunate that football ended up, like I said, making that a means to an end, that, you know, I was able to enjoy playing football at so many levels. You know, I enjoyed being a coach a youth coach for, 27 years. I enjoyed being an administrator of football. And one of my real bucket list things was having to bring a team home. What was that, 2000, when my son was 16. Oh gosh, that's 15 years ago. Yeah, it was 2016.
Oh my God, it looked like the other, it was just...
Yeah, it was time to fly. Yeah. So that was.
Oh, when you were getting old.
No, when I said older.
No, when you get older, yeah, time flies, you know.
We are not old. I mean, my mother is 83. She old, but we not old. We old though.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and it's football and sports in general.
So tell me. I mean, I am familiar with Rochester because as you reminded me, it wasn't you had graduated in '89.
That's right.
Right, and I think that Martin and thing might have been early in the 90s, 1990.
Yes, yeah, it was a year or 2 after. Mr. Photogenesis himself.
That's right, Photogenesis. And I remember, and of course my cousin Paul Simon, he was also there.
Correct.
There was Dubik.
Yes, I just talked to Jubik, one of the best footballers I've ever played with.
I am telling you, fantastic player. And you went to St. Joseph's Academy also with him? Or?
Oh, Jubik is, you know, Emma, you only look young now, but Jubik about 5 years old.
No, you're right. Yeah.
But let me tell you something about Darrell Jubik Stewart. You know, and you know, if he was here right now, he would say, "Boy, I'm murder at you," because I tell him, I know Jubik before Jubik know Jubik. You know, because as I mentioned, my grandmother used to sell in the market. So did his mother. You know, as a fellow Dominic, and I used to see Jubik sleeping in the tray. You know, when he was like 1 or 2 years old.
Size.
And until that size.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, but Jubik came to Fisher 1 year after me, and it was such a joy to have him because, you know, when I got to Fisher, you know, I was the focal point on the team. You know, I was the leading scorer. When Jubik come, oh murder, we was killing him because Jubik is such an amazing footballer. He took the pressure off of me. You know, because you know, he's such a dribbler. And Jubik would draw 5 or 6 people in the same middle, he'd tap in that. You know what I mean? You know, or he would get his bonus and take his shot. But Jubik, you know, in terms of, we talk about home, I've played with a lot of good people, but Jubik was an exceptionally talented footballer. You know, so
that's true. And you guys still stay in touch?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Absolutely. I'm talking to Jubik. We have a little chat group that we call the Dudley Fisher Crew. You know, and every now and then.
The official crew? You know, the doc?
The Dudley Fisher, as in the college we went to.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so there's a, you know, because we have some others that came to that same path with us. And all of them were not athletes. We have several females in Marcel Freeland, Carleen Bird.
Okay.
Mary Therese Martin, which is Joseph's sister,
right?
You know, and some other brothers, David and Colin Jarvis, who's John Jarvis, 2 younger brothers. Alfred Matthew, who, if people remember, Miss Matthew, Iris Matthew, who was so involved with netball and whatnot, who passed away a couple of years ago. Her first son, Alfred, who is an amazing. What should I call him? Software engineer.
No, but you guys must have made an impression on the Fisher College because I mean, all you guys are just open the door for the others to pass through.
What we did, you know, and it's kind of sad that it ended after a while because what we did, it was academic excellence. You know, that we were able to exercise, you know, and it's like Antigua come from, and you know, we our love party now just kept pat and pan about the basketball game and tongue iron band, but when it came to what we were there for,
right?
You know what I mean, to get a good education, we were hard on each other as far as that. I remember Colin, as we call him, Gus used to wake us up at 4:30, 5 o'clock. To go study, and we put in 2 hours work before, 7 o'clock in the morning, and said we have to. So we had each other, and the discipline, which is again sports again, the discipline that we had, you know, and displayed amongst ourselves helped us to excel. And I'm really proud of the group of us. Some are back home, some are here. But you know, people do amazing things to whether it's home or here. Craig Christopher, you know, the magistrate, Craig, I'm a brethren. You know, Craig also, Craig and I came to Fisher the same day. You know, and our families have been friends for a very long. Craig, he would tell you can play football, but he's better writing music and playing instruments. You know, but we had each other. We had a nice eclectic group of not only us from Antigua, but you know, iron sharpened iron, and you know, we got together with the other Caribbean people, the Jamaicans and the Africans, and we walked all the way through his universities and we helped each other to traverse what was America. and what was racism in the classroom and whatnot. So in spite of those obstacles, we still came out and at the top of our classes and were able, as athletes as well as academics.
Fantastic. I tell you a little story because when I came there for Paul's graduation, right, and we stayed with this family, and I was asking him what the weather like outside. So he says, "Oh, it's cool." he said, "Oh, it's cool." Man, I went out in a long sleeve shirt, right? and I said, "Look, outside is freezing." He says, "Yes, it's cool." I said, "No, where I'm from, cool means cool."
Hey,
it's 70 degrees.
What's the weather? Hush.
You up there near kind of ended.
Listen, man. Listen. Rochester weather hush. I mean, I'm not talking about the weather too much. Just know that it hush, and people spell cold COLD.
Yeah.
Well, wow, you feel it's spelled with K. Cold. Cold. Yeah, so
all right.
Right now we're at summertime now, so I'm probably 80 to 83 degrees outside right now. So
when we come back, we're gonna get into your motivational speaking subject in the area of African history, but we just gotta let our viewers know that Talking Sport has been brought with the kind compliments of our platinum sponsor, which is ACB Caribbean, Simply Smarter Banking, Cecil Charles Group of Company, to its company of Seco Pharmacy and Ultra Hutchison, along with Blue Mountain Water, the purest and best water that you can get on earth, they say, and plumbing and electrical, along with Brands for Less. And remember, we are on Facebook and YouTube live, so we are asking you to please share or to like and share, or share and like, whichever way you want to put it. Okay, now, yes, tell me, Meadow, you mentoring young people, and you do motivational speaking in the subject areas of African history. How is that? And what is the reception like and about that?
MR, it's something that I didn't plan for, but like Oliver said, well, for you can be on the field.
Yeah, that's right.
In terms of doing public speaking, it first started when I was working for HSBC Bank. And what the job that I had was to create financial products for the bank that work in low-income neighborhoods, and that was a New York State job. I really enjoyed that job because I was moving up and down New York State. One day I would be in Brooklyn, and the next day I would be in Cattaraugus County, which is on an Indian reservation, where the poor people were. And we know that banks, even up to today, still, don't look as favorably as they should when it comes to people who are economically marginalized. Let's put it that way. And what my job was, it was twofold: to design products that would work, right? That were non-traditional. And the other part was to go talk to the communities to kind of say, hey, we actually here to help. So a big part of that was establishing my own credibility, as a professional. And most times those crowds, if you will, were hostile because I was representing the bank. So at that time, I had recently, take my Nazarite vow and lock my hair, and that gave me some credibility because I think I was actually the first person to lock the hair in HSBC Bank, which is extremely, at the time, conservative British institution.
Right.
Depending on where I was in the state, it would be invariably, as we say, the BIPOC people. That's the acronym we use now, people of color and native people.
Right.
And so I was able to get sort of comfortable, just saying why I was there, because part of my job was being the bank's conscience.
All right.
So I got sort of comfortable speaking to large crowds, and even crowds that may be hostile in terms of heckling, that type of thing. Also, at the same time, on my own personal journey, right, to become the best version of me possible, is what sort of amplified my research into myself. You know, Luciano have a song said, take a little trip inside myself, a journey in within.
That is my
yeah.
boy. It just call you.
Yes, Luciano. So what that journey caused me to do is to, as I said, investigate, you know, the African in me. And so it got to a point where I got so much knowledge about myself that it also brings confidence. And a week ago, tomorrow, which is August the 17th, was Marcus Garvey's 134th birthday. And I say that to say, one of the amazing things that Garvey said is, without confidence, you're twice defeated in the race.
Right.
Without confidence, you know, so in finding out more about myself, and typically we know most of us emanate from West Africa, and I started to study Akan traditions quite a bit, and I was fortunate enough to go to the continent, go to Ghana specifically, and there I found out more.
Because I want you to tell me more about the connection between us here in Antigua and that part of the world. But go on.
Undoubtedly. And so, you know, when I was amongst the Africans, they force you to say, well, you know, like, they asked me my name. Like, my name is Jerome. I said, well, what's your real name? I said, what do you mean? They said, well, what day were you born? Look up in the phone. Oh, my born on Tuesday. They said, well, your name is Kwabena.
What your name is?
Kwabena.
Okay.
Kwebena. You know, so because in the Akan tradition, the day of the week that you're born, there's a male name and a female name. You know, so we said, oh, okay, and they started calling me Kwabena. You know, so that was the tip of the iceberg. So what does someone born on Tuesday signify? Okay, the celestial deity that governs, you know, again, this is Akan tradition, those born on Tuesday is Mars. And the color that is attuned with your spirit is red. You know, however, your character is that of what's called a compassionate warrior. A compassionate warrior. And that started to resonate with me. And then I found out, Emma, that a warrior never fights. A warrior protects his or her community from harm.
That's right.
A warrior is the negotiator. A warrior is the one that is the diplomat and go, hey, you better listen to me now, because the soldier never who will fight. And if you want a soldier, that them will rip off your head.
Right.
So the warrior is the one that tries to actually avoid conflict.
That's right.
Right?
But that comes back to know what you're doing now.
Precisely, Omar.
You know, so,
you know,
right, yes, okay.
Yeah, so when that's what I said, you know, when you find out about yourself, you find out about yourself.
That's right.
And when you know your purpose, then your what becomes very, very easy. You know, so, because I found out my why. My why is that I'm a compassionate warrior. And it lined up with everything Granny was telling us, to go work in service of others. Go be, if she knew what she was talking about,
right,
in terms of conscious competence, she would say, go be a compassionate warrior. But the knowledge was inside of her unconsciously. So what she put in us, so it became obvious to me, wow, you know, so that caused me to just study more and start to read what Black authors in particular, because up to that point in my life, most of everything that we had read, except for the great Walter Rodney and them, were written by white people.
Right.
So my wife said, I'm kind of aggressive with it. If I don't read another thing, somebody white, I would be okay.
Right.
Because it is, I think, it is important for us.
For us, yeah. Our story,
it is important for us.
His story.
Precisely. You understand clearly what we talk about. So in learning about that, and you know, when after I left Datros in '98, I was asked to go work for the Rochester City School District, which was the hard turn for me with leaving sort of the corporate world to go work in education, which is right up my alley, right? I was not trained as an educator, but what they needed somebody to run the business systems of the school system, like food, like transportation, and like the facilities. So the school district had at the time about 30,000 students. We were serving 40,000 meals a day. We were transporting about 28,000 students on school buses every day. So that was my responsibility, to make sure that the food is right, to make sure that the buildings were clean, and to make sure the students were transported safely and whatnot. So that was, so if you do that right, then the education happens in the classroom. Became, people have to worry about hunger, because if you're hungry, you're not going to penetrate the lesson properly. If the building is cold or hot, depending on what season we're in, it's going to impact your learning. So I was able to be, to learn a lot of things about education as being part of the senior management team there. At the same time as when I was on the board of the agency that I now lead. So in learning about my own story and what I learned about education, is that the education should be grounded in people's lived experience. Right. And our lived experience, we're African people. And as I have some discussion, sometimes debate with brethren and sisters in home, is that we know that who they took from Africa was Africans, right? They didn't take slaves from Africa. They took Africans and enslaved them. Yeah. So as much as we're proud of our 162 square miles, which is 108 plus Barbuda, we know that we're African people, because we never stopped being African unless mentally you think you did. Right. So for me, for young people to understand the fact that they are indeed Africans and to have a rich history, to know that, our history did not start in 1492, but it started hundreds of thousands of years ago, when the things that our ancestors built and the civilizations that they put together, people still trying to figure out how did they do that. So the knowledge that allowed that, the psyche that allowed us to do that, is what I think we should be striving for every day. So I find a lot of joy in continuing to learn, and there's an African proverb that says, "He who learns teaches." Right. So I try, when I'm asked through speaking arrangements or speaking responsibilities, to try to bring that up, because when people ask me about, so how did you get to be the CEO of ABC? Is all that I just told you. Antigua looms large, football looms large, but that knowledge of self, right, that I came to even later. But the things that Granny was telling us, it was the same thing. But our grandmother went to school, I think, one day in her life.
Yeah, can you imagine? Yeah.
But I never saw her when she in the market, and she got she little pen behind she ear, and she take them out and write them with the but I never see she make a math mistake. You know what I mean? So there was the math is innate to us as African people, but people say, oh, but just get tight when it comes to math. But how you think you're able to dance so, how people can wake up? Can wake a tiny in. You know what I mean? So all that is innate in math. It's just, it's a beat. So those things are we're naturally endowed with that. We only need to learn how to tap into that, that mystical part of us that helps with so much else.
Mm-hmm. But I sometimes find myself, when I go through the channel on my television, right, and there's an African station that I always watch, and somehow I see those people from that area, Nigeria and Ghana area, right? Very few. I mean, I used to see my grandmother used to clap her hands when you're in trouble. Boy, like you're gonna get a whooping, and also chops, the sucking of teeth. Right? I have never seen any other people, like the Saint Kitts or Montserrat who suck their teeth, just like Antigua.
No. Let me correct you with that, MR.
Sorry?
Let me correct you with that. I have, because our family, have 8 different Caribbean countries in it. Okay. 8 different Caribbean countries. My mother born in Dominica, even though she's been in Antigua since she's 6 years old.
Uh-huh.
My father born in Montserrat. Did you know that old man born in Montserrat?
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah, old man born in Montserrat. So, me and, our siblings.
You're with the Caribbean, with the Caribbean.
Well, let me run on the stats still. Mommy born in Dominica, daddy born in Montserrat. We born in Antigua and married to one of the most impressive Jamaicans. Right. Jerry first son born in St. Kitts. Wow. My sister Joan married to a guy from Barbados, but the wedding was in St. Lucia. Wow. My brother-in-law, he come from Guyana, and my favorite uncle, spent most of his life in Trinidad. So we have the whole region from north to south.
The Caribbean on the road.
As a matter of fact, Emma, hear this. I didn't tell you this. I was, I know we're getting short on time, but here in Rochester, my wife and I have a restaurant. You must come to one day. The name of the restaurant is Caribbean Heritage.
Caribbean Heritage?
Caribbean Heritage. And that's why we named the restaurant that, because, again, as an old to our ancestors, that, that's how we came here. I love the Jamaican motto. It says, out of many, one people.
That's right.
So when I'm in St. Lucia, people in St. Lucia troops the same way. In the Montserrat, all over, we are one people.
Yeah, it's just out of many countries, we're one Caribbean.
One.
Yeah.
Out of one continent, one Caribbean.
We're one, yeah.
But and that's where our strength is, togetherness. And I see it in our family because we come from so many different islands, and the only difference is which part of the boat up. That's the only difference. And of course, we have developed things along the way that make it sort of uniquely Antiguan or uniquely Jamaican. But to our core, we are the same people. We're African people. We are not monolithic, we're diverse. But the one thing we have in common is that continent. And in terms of DNA, again, with that quest to find out more about myself, which is also find out more about my family, when I send my swabs to get analyzed to AfricanAncestry.com, why AfricanAncestry.com? Because it's owned by Africans. When I say a man of African descent, it's a black-owned company. So rather than using ancestry that's owned by white people, I'm very particular with who I spend my money with. Anyway, I found out that the origin of our mitochondrial DNA, which is my mother's line, is 99.4% originated in what's called the Tikar, Tikar region of northwest Cameroon. We're Cameroonian. So I'm just biding my time to go to Cameroon. There's a little unease in Cameroon right now, which is very distressing between Anglophone and Francophone people. It don't make no sense. But anyway, that's where our mitochondrial DNA originated in the northwest region of Cameroon.
Of Cameroon, yeah.
Yes.
But what I found kind of very, very interesting is when you told them your name, they said, "No, what's your real name?"
Yeah, because listen, here's the story about.
I'm starting to think now, right? That this Mervyn is not Mervyn.
Yeah. Mervyn, let me give you a very strong story about that, right? But it's not a story; it's a reality. Many of you have heard the name. They said the first human, the fossils that they found. They say, what was the name? Lucy, right? Remember that? The Lucy that they found in Ethiopia. They said the oldest fossil. I think Lucy is 1.2 billion years old. Billion.
Yeah.
Found there in Ethiopia. Now think about it. You are a traveling man, MR. You know what I mean? You know any Ethiopian named Lucy?
No, not at all.
Exactly. Well, Emma, her name is Dinkanesh.
Well, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John too. I don't know.
Way before Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Her name is Dinknesh. The first, her name is
Where
Dinknesh.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were from? I mean, you know.
Oh, hold on, let me give the story
English
for
names.
Dinknesh.
Yeah.
But Dinknesh, which means thou art worthy. That's what the Ethiopians call. Now, imagine your child in school and you hear a story about Dinknesh as opposed to hear Lucy. Don't you think you'd square up your shoulders a little more to say, Dinknesh? Say it with me, Dinknesh.
Yeah.
As opposed to Lucy. No, that is a primary example of white supremacy. Because the people in the hominid dig, the Europeans, they say Lucy. But the Ethiopians who were there said, Dinknesh is her name. So when Marvin come from Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, it's somebody else's idea of us, not ours.
That's right. That's
You know what I
right.
mean? So we have to, as far as I'm concerned, we have to be relentless in our quest for us.
And the truth.
We don't take anybody else's word for it. Challenge everything, because as we say, it's hidden in plain sight. Hidden in plain sight. And that's what I tell young people, they can pick up a phone.
The eyes wide shut.
Exactly.
Yeah. But also tell me too, you also a founding member of the Greater Rochester Black Agenda. You don't live in Rochester now, do you?
I do.
Oh, you do. Okay, fine, okay. Right,
I do.
right, okay. So I was wondering if you go somewhere else and still have a big part to play in where you were educated,
Well, Rochester has been good to us. When I say us, I'm talking about me and my family. And, and here's where I'm supposed to be now. I miss Dudley. Like today I was talking to my sister. She boasts after me about she'll go beach.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Other than my family, what I miss most about home is going to the beach. So I tell you, okay, go beach, and when you're ready for going from the beach, just go back in the water and say, Daddy, from there, just go back in the water because
The one for you.
but I still, I've been in Rochester for, like I say, over the years. Came here in 85, so you can do the math. That was 36 years.
See.
The Greater Rochester Black Agenda Group, I'm a proud founding member of the Black Agenda Group, as we call ourselves, the BAG, BAG. And, it came out of such necessity. Back in 2015, several of us who knew each other, we found ourselves in a meeting of about 80 people, and it was Rochester's, or Monroe County. Rochester sits in what's called Monroe County, and we were, they were discussing, it was called a Child Care Council, and they were discussing solutions for children. And the city of Rochester is majority people of color. And I pause as I say that because one thing, words are so powerful. We try to tell people, never refer to yourself as a minority. Never refer to yourself as a minority, right? Because we don't mind to nobody. Because if you say minority, there's somebody has to be majority, right?
That's right.
So we were in this meeting, and there was about 80 people in the meeting, right? And there were maybe 6 people who are non-white people in the meeting. And they're discussing what they're going to do on behalf of these black and brown children. And we were kind of looking at each other, and the non-verbal was like, who will say something? Who will say something? And it wasn't, a couple of us were sort of in the middle of the room, and there was a lady at the back of the room. She said, excuse me. And it was another black woman. We didn't know she was back there. And we stopped the meeting for about 20 minutes. And why we did it is because what they were saying was such utter nonsense, MR. Even though they meant well, right? Mm-hmm. They meant well, but they did not know enough about black people to design solutions for them.
Right.
So we decided, enough of that. If somebody don't set an agenda, if you don't set your own agenda, somebody will set one for you. Mm-hmm. So we, after the meeting, we actually met on the sidewalk and stood up there for about an hour and a half and said, no, this is the end of that. And we pulled together some other people. There was 11 of us to start off, and we took a year and we wrote what is now known as the Black Agenda. And it focuses on what we call 3 pillars: education, health and wellness, with a particular emphasis on mental health, and economic development. So, of course, we don't claim to possess every progressive thought for Black people, but we're leaders in our own right, and we have been able to coalesce a lot of people around the agenda so that, the things that they're doing that sort of are tangential to a Black agenda that is pro-Black in all of our facets, we try to promote that. So that's what the Black Agenda group is all about.
Yeah, but I find that it kind of intertwined with each other, right? Because as you mentioned, the three things that
three pillars.
The three pillars there, yeah, which is education and the health and well-being.
Health and wellness and economic development.
Economic development, right? So that's where it comes back now to what you're actually doing in terms of working for poor people, as you said in the beginning. Everything's kind of tying into each other in a nice way, isn't it?
It's very deliberate, Emma, because, again, back to the football game again. You have to have a plan and a strategy. You have to have a game plan. And, if we decide, okay, all right, we're looking at our opponent and they're left back over there weak, right? We know that, whoever, you mean, I'll go way out the line over there until they fix it, and if we have a weakness, right, we have to bolster that weakness. You know what I mean? So if let's, for instance, we know that our left midfielder kind of vulnerable, I'll forget a man like Ibu and put it over there so that I'll know that, okay, if you get you one, I'll get it. So when we set out to write the agenda, we started off with, it was 9 pillars. I would say that's too broad. We have to narrow it down, and we figured the 3 that we ended up with, we figure things like criminal justice, things like housing, those are kind of related. If we can impact education, if we can impact economic development, and if we can impact, just health, those other things are going to sort of be assisted at the same time. So a big part of our work is literally to counteract the impact of racism in all of its forms, systemic, structural, and interpersonal racism. So that is part of the work, Direct Action for Better Community. It is part of the boards that I serve on. I choose them because they work in service of other people. So it is very, very deliberate. And not only that, but, and this is the part I like to talk about best, MR. The work that I do in Antigua is very similar. So that pretty much doesn't have any profile, but Granny, again, back to Granny, so, I'm
anyway.
Yeah, the foundation, I consider, like I said, I consider myself a budding philanthropist,
right?
Because, the foundation, it was so crucial, and for a foundation, for a house, normally you can't see a foundation, but the foundation is the most important part of the house.
That's right.
So we try to, my wife and I, and the rest of the family, we try to, in our own way, try to be philanthropists in Antigua, in Jamaica, in Dominica, where we, find roots and we can try to assist in the way that we can. That's something that we're really, really proud about. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give a not shameless plug. There's an event coming up this weekend. 29th is Sunday, right? And my nephew passed away 4 years ago. My sister Jasmine's son, Jamali Henry, and we started a scholarship fund.
Hey, look, I knew the guy because he was the man was a karate guy, innit? He did.
You best believe it.
Yeah.
You best believe it.
And he was nominated by that association for Sportsman of the Year when I was director of sports. So I had to go and talk with him, and he was when I heard it, it broke my heart, man.
And so many of us, and so we have a scholarship fund we started in Jamali's name, the Jamali Henry Scholarship Fund, and he also loved cars. He's a big car guy, so there's a little scavenger hunt that's happening this Sunday at 1 p.m. Starting in the Abbott parking lot to raise funds for that scholarship. We provide a scholarship every year for an outstanding student at Abbott. So Jumali's friends, have helped work on that with my sister and her crew. So that's just one thing we're doing from a philanthropic point of view. Villa School is something that's near and dear to my heart, and we've been doing some work with Villa School for a good while now, almost 10 years. As well as some other things we try to do in a covert way in the community. But as we say, who know. But it's really important that we find a way to. And when you were talking to Job and Lester, they were saying the same thing. We have to always find a way to help Bradley. Because were it not for Antigua, maybe we would not be having this conversation right now.
That is so true. That is so true. That is so true. All right, now when we get back, right, you're gonna tell me about more. I know there's a lot more things that you're involved in, right? And we're gonna try and squeeze that out of you after you come back from just letting our viewers know that.
Yes, when we come back, we're talking about basketball.
Okay.
There's some things you don't know about.
As a matter of fact, Meadow, this is your show. You will tell exactly what you want to do, right?
I want to say basketball, I'm talking about Antigua basketball.
That's all right. That's all right. Whatever you want to talk about, it's yours. But we just want to let our viewers know that, of course, Talking Sport was made possible by our platinum sponsor, which is ACB Caribbean, Simply Smarter Banking, Cecil Charles Group of Companies, through its one of his company, which is Seco Pharmacy, along with Hutchison, and of course Blue Mountain Water, along with plumbing and electrical, along with Brands for Less. And we've got this is a very special guest here on Zoom. Is none other than Jerome Meadow Underwood. All right. Yes, you said when we got back we were going to talk about basketball. So you can start bouncing the ball.
Well, as I mentioned early in the interview,
Look, the thing about it now, I believe you only wanted to play basketball because Joe was your mentor, and Joe played basketball.
Listen.
He was an athlete.
Hey.
He also played football. Football, yeah. So go on.
Emma,
Yeah.
So I did my homework preparing for this show. I went back into your archives, right, of shows that you've done, and I looked at the interview with Lukey and Carl Bowley Knight.
Right.
Yes, I did. Right? Okay, yeah. Hey, failing to plan is plan to fail. And, if the illustrious MR is going to interview me, I got to do my homework, right? I can't just come.
That's great. That's great.
Oh, yes. Failing to plan is planning to fail. And I was looking at that interview again. Oh, Lord, more Villa people again.
Who's that?
Lukey and Bowley Knight was my neighbor. When I say neighbor, no. Neighbor.
He said bless you.
As a matter of fact, I was looking at the chat, and I think I see Mrs. Knight, who I call First Lady, Olina Knight. Happy belated birthday and happy anniversary. Happy belated anniversary. But when Bowley was talking about us being in Villa School, right, having to play, right, and we have ball that don't have no hand, we used to bounce the ball in our hand, right? That's, and don't double the ball in your hand, so, from then, we were all in Villa School, and, our elders at the time, like Pinnacle and Lawrence and them, and the elders, Lukey, and then, Norris Antonio, that went basketball, as powerful in Villa School. We had our little teams and then playing. But anyway, fast forward to come to late 70s and whatnot, early 80s, if you remember when Bowley was saying that, South Central and the team,
That's right.
that to come to be Spillville now. Now, playing football, and we can play like a basketball, and with Skillville team, them guys allow me to put on a jersey in Emma 1 year. 1 year.
Yeah.
And they say, you're not good enough, because we had so many skillful players, but they say, you know what, you're a good organizer, So I became coach of the team. It was more like manager, because, I organized the practices and whatnot, but I don't make a coach Richie Francis and bowling them. It was more organized. But we had so much talent. But the key, we were so together, right? When I say together, because it was Bowley and his brother Pro Star. We had brothers and cousins and neighbors, and that connective tissue, if you will. I think what people didn't realize that we worked really, really hard. We would be on the court at 4:30 in the morning, to practice. And then we would go see the Grove, and come back. Or if we do a long run and go all the way around. But we would practice really, really hard. Then we would go on Saturdays, we would go to the market. Now my grandmother started sitting and drink jelly and whatnot. So we were really, really close. And MR, as a coach in the top flight with Antigua basketball, I never lost a championship. I won 5 straight.
But you went down and said manager. So which one it is? Manager or coach? Or manager slash?
They call me coach. They say Meadow was the coach, right?
All right. But you were the coach.
In retrospect, what I was really doing is managing, and making sure that we were where we were supposed to be. And I was fortunate at the time. Right after November 1981, and I'm particularly not saying independence, but after November 1981, I got a job with Sealy, and they trusted me enough to give me the Sealy van to drive, so that became Skillville Transportation, and I'm really, really boss, with that, because we were the only team that have our own transportation. And when we used to make some entrances, whether at Clear Hall, Radio Range, So that unlike Miss Shakiri Richardson, we could have back up our chat. So, and we never, before I left, which was in 85, we never lost. We might lose a game, but we never lost a championship. We just win straight. So I think that I have the best record as a coach in Antigua basketball history.
Yes.
But more importantly, Skillville have the winningest record of any sport in Antigua as judged by consecutive championships won. In any sport. And respect to the powerful Empire, but Empire's trophies were not consecutive. Always were. You know what I mean? And, because, after I left, Joe came, and Joe was part of that. We had, at one point, Antigua basketball team, which is 10 or 11 players, had 6 of our players on the team. 6. 6. So we were dominant. We were dominant. Like the Jamaican women, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That was us. Yeah. So in any conversation about basketball at Antigua, Skillville looms large.
But what is very interesting too, right, is the whole point that you made there about how creative you guys were because of the basketball that you all had to bounce it in your hand. Did you think that you guys might have been onto something that never really went on to develop? Because who knows? maybe everybody would have been playing basketball, bouncing it in the hand,
Well,
just like how we here first started 10 cricket, and they decided to add 10 on it to make it 20. And all over the world, T20. But we in Antigua started 10 overs in the afternoon. Like after work, 4 o'clock, and the game finished at 6 o'clock.
But Emma, there were some other things we used to do in that park. When I say the park, I'm sorry, in Villa School. Because Villa School was the real Mecca.
Yeah.
You know, and it was hand tennis.
Yeah.
We used to play a lot of hand tennis, you know, the concrete block, you know.
Yes.
Villa wasn't the only place playing hand tennis, but we would have some serious hand tennis games. Take the tennis ball, turn it into a skinless.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Because you can spin more so.
That's right.
Yeah, and some serious tennis we play inside of Villa School. So again, I didn't know anywhere else in the world where they play that. I don't know if there was another island.
Lilliputian cricket, when we played cricket on our knees.
Oh, okay then. All right.
Yes, I mean, you know.
Like who invented one tip? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
No. In seriousness, we were onto a lot of things that we just dropped and didn't go through it. But the one tip out the man is the T20 now, which is you hit the ball and try to run and good fielding and good bowling.
But man, me this now they play one tip with 40 man on the field now. You know what I mean? And who get better? Where you're dead for body, you better catch you know what I mean? Because so much people be in the park.
That is
you know,
true.
and
Yeah.
so much, you know, the park was just full of young people, male and female. I remember just being in Villa Park and way up to the east, you know, netball playing, volleyball playing, and then where us the youth man and just play. We don't have a little strip of football where we were playing there. Then the big field where the big man and them play down there, and then the basketball court, the tennis court, and there would be hundreds of, you know. So I think what that did for us was give us something to do. You know, as Joe was saying, you know, when you interviewed Joe, you know, right now.
Physical activity, yes.
Just right now, a lot of people spend time, you know, but we were outside, you know what I mean, and getting physically fit, most of us all the time, and sometimes you have to fight fair play.
That's right.
You know what I mean? But then when you think about it,
when you had those little fights in the park, you know, it was just for that moment, because the next day you're friends again, you know. It finished then.
Well, let me tell you something.
Not now.
For goalkeeper for Aston Villa at the time, right? Well, my brother was Villa keeper at the time, Joe Brown now.
That's right.
And Jerry was, and so me, you know what I mean, and you know, I'm excelling as a keeper. You know what I mean? And our liquor side that was played to the east. When Villa ready to go recreation, going to play, we just scrimmage them.
Yeah.
You know? So, and every now and then, you know, the game end up 1-1, or maybe them bang 1-0, and every now and then we bang them 1-0 or 2-1 or something. And I say, Tom, I want playing. But even this I can't open recreation going, we can get playing too. They're telling me 15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
Right? And when it was time for me to make my debut for Villa, Emma, I'm from my brother, me have to work off now. And hey, because I remember the day when they said,
in the same home, right? In the same house.
No, listen, same house. I remember the day they said, okay, they're now shooting contests. And hard kicking Massey and them, and all them are lined up in it, and they said, Jerry, you know, go for tech, you know, 5 shots in the middle, boy, and you know, a goal would tell you, when they're in the mood, right? And nobody can score. And I'm gonna Jerry watch this live right now. Come look in the comments, but see from a bigger brother Jerry. When them a bore up Jerry, right? And they can't score for me. I said, look, I have to make me play now. I can't spot, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But only somebody that ever punched me in the mouth and my older brother. Right? I'm embarrassed see there, right? And Henry Phillip.
That's like Jerry.
AKA Ibu. Ibu dash for Jerry. You know what I mean? Because you imagine for a little brother work off. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we have had many conversations about that. But I will say this about my older brother. Right? Because, you know, and here's my angle on this. Jerry also played for the national youth team. Right? And Jerry and other stellar footballers, right? And Smoke Herb in a Senkin. That was 1970. Jerry helped me out. That's 77 now. And then banned them for 2 years. remember how legalized these days. That's for sure how wrong them in the top 10, right? And then and like you remember Naba, sweet midfielder from Grace Farm, Naba.
Of course, yeah, man.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, they banned Jerry and Naba and them because they kind of smoke herb in the St. Kitts. Yeah. That was a big mistake in Antigua football. You know what I mean? But my brother was inspiring to me.
Look, as a man, right? We came back and we played some old boys football at one point, you know, without much, you know, like training for it, you know. And Jerry came back in the goal and did some crazy things like for the moment, you know. That's it. I don't know how he felt tonight, but I mean, he was awesome. Yeah. He was awesome. Awesome that game. And you just tell you, you know, it's what's in you, you know, and you know,
it's an instinct.
Exactly. You know, you may not think as fast as you used to, but at least, you know,
who can?
You will have moments of brilliance at some point.
Well,
you know?
Indeed. You know, and as we say, so much good custodians, you know, come from our turf, so to speak. And, you know, like I said, when I left Villa because of philosophical differences with the management, at that time scouting them around Villa, at that time how Little and how Jed, and, you know what I mean? And, you know, so, like, hey, me the ball for Villa and we can go judge Benham. You know, West Ham, you know, and I spent most of my Antigua football in Premier. And West Ham.
West Ham.
You know what I mean? As West Ham.
You guys were a Villa Point community.
It was, and will always be. And for me, there's no difference. You know what I mean? But I bring up West Ham to bring up another amazing custodian in national colours as well, Angeline. You know what I mean? Because Angeline pretty much took over from me, you know, as West Ham's custodian. I ended up the Antigua custodian. And when Angeline got in the goal, Angeline maybe was 50 because I got hurt. You know, Angeline was maybe 50 or 60 because, you know what I mean, I got hurt, I got burnt on my both legs from my motorcycle. You know what I mean? I couldn't, every day they ever go base, I just soak in the water. And I say, hey, Angeline can do the work. You know what I mean? And we put Angeline in the goal and the rest is history. You know what I mean? And because I was a footballer, when I got well, it makes sense I'll take Angeline out the goal. Middle, center forward. You know what I mean? So, again, and the rest is history. So, Angeline, who is in Canada, Angeline, you know, he's a big golfer now. You know what I mean? So, so big up Anchas.
I see it on Facebook. He's always geared up for his golf games.
Always. So I mean, so big up the world.
I am from the Ovals community, right? And
say again.
You know, I'm from the Ovals community in St. John's there, really, right?
I've heard about it.
Oh my God! Look, but we pride ourselves as there are two kind of people in Antigua, right? Those who are from Ovals and those who wish they were from Ovals, right?
Yes,
there are two people in Antigua. I want to know, right? I mean, in all fairness, even though Grace Green was not too far from us, they're in the Ovals community, right? The Grace Green. I'm talking about another community, right?
Yes.
Who do you think would come second, Grace Green or the Villa Point area? Tell me. In terms
first of all, the question is invalid. You know, me listen very intently. The question is invalid.
Right.
So,
how should I frame it then?
No, well, let me say this, right?
Yes.
When it comes to Grace Farm, and Panton Villa, Grace Green, let me say Grace Green, for include Hatton and include Green Bay. Because we have roots, the Underwood family have roots there too. So I have two brothers, you know what I mean? So you will find, well, I don't need to tell Antigua this, our people who know Antigua sports, right? That some of the best athletes come out of Pinton Villa and the Grand and them. Oh yes, there's a couple that come from overs and some other places.
Yeah.
So I then get in the conversation.
Look, Melo, I had a very distinguished person from the overs community last week on our program.
Yes.
And he brought something to my attention. To be the best in the world, you know, El Mundo.
Yes.
You know how many billions of people in the world, and you are the best, right? I mean, I can't recall anybody from the Villa or Point that fit that kind of.
That's a given. So let me since you said we set the agenda for the show, right? Let me take this moment. Let me take this moment to extend my appreciation.
Oh yes.
To Seville. Yes. Let me tell you something about encounter me and Seville had, right? Now you went to that school up on the hill there, grammar school.
You guys should be familiar, man. The name has been some of you guys.
Formidable opponents,
all right. Yeah.
Do you remember the year that grammar school had their 150th anniversary, MR? I do. I don't remember what year it was, but there was an old boys football game that played in the recreation ground, and y'all chose y'all formidable opponent to play against. It was old boys from grammar school versus old boys from academy. I was on the field that day. Grammar school had its
I remember grammar school, of course, but I say, who opponents were again?
The St. Joseph's Academy.
Okay, right, okay, yes, right. That school on the other side.
Hey, Emma, that was good.
Yeah. That's the game I saw Jerry in, boy. I tell you, I think that was the game I saw Jerry in. I think that was the game.
That was a good football game. But let me tell you, right? Me learned some about Sir Isaac that day, right? Me play midfield, right? Yeah, like I said, I played every position on the football field. I excel most at goalkeeper, but I hold on a goalkeeper. Me and Vivi boot up on the field, right?
Yeah.
And let me tell you, me end up about 10 yards away from the ball, right? Now, when Vivi showed the knack, right? I said, oh, God, man, I'm the top. Emma, I mean, remember, Mr. Oh, and Viv put it up. He said, he pulled me up and said, like a handwood car. I was about 25 years old before the top car. I just Jerry trade, you know what I mean? I just Jerry. I'm gonna say, really, and that make you not 6 without even swing. I mean, it's true to move, right?
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, all of us who are sons and daughters of the soil, we're so proud of him, man. And you know, as a matter of fact, my son, you were talking about now. My son screensaver on his phone is Viv Richards. Because my son is somewhat of an artist, and he drew. I won't say it to you. I won't tell you, you know, and
good
because my son, who I am born in Rochester, he can tell you about Vivi stats in there. You know what I mean? Because he's so interested. But yes, that is unquestionably. You know, he belongs to overs, but he belongs to all. You know what I mean?
Okay, so
there are exceptions.
So I left you to that. He for everybody, so
yeah, the exceptions to everyone.
Yeah. No, but it's nice, you know. It's nice when you have strong communities, you know. And as you rightly said, when you show the phone, you know, the cell phone, that more dangerous than drugs, you know. And before that, you mentioned all the sports that you used to play. We used to play when we didn't have cell phone. We were all around us. Right? As a matter of fact, I told people that I served behind the goal before I got on the field of play for any team.
See?
You know?
See that?
And of course, we used to get a lot of the balls behind here because, you know, some of them guys...
Red line, we call it.
Red line. You know? So, you know, and when they saw you, when the bigger folks saw you at the back and how you were displaying your little skill, then they start to encourage you to come on the field and play. So it was, I guess, similar with the Villa boys when your little team played against them, you know. and then without organization, how you sort of fit into the team, you know?
Indeed. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and we used to play a couple matches a day. You know, because we play school league football, then go recreation ground to play. You know what I mean? When they're tired.
That's right.
You know what I mean? When they're tired, no, you always need no rest.
Time seems to fly a little faster when you're getting older. You mentioned that when we're getting older. But when I used to go to school, I used to wonder when school is going to finish. You know, it's like a punishment, it's like a jail sentence. You know, you wondering, oh my God, 8 hours in to sit down here. You know, and now,
but you know,
every other day is Friday.
Yeah, knowing that we coming to the close, one of the things I want to make sure that I say, MR, you know, to us, and you know, pointing my fingers right on my chest, and you know, because I include myself in the us in terms of people who are interested in young people and young people's future, which means interested in Antigua's future. You know, because of what I call the instrument, you know, the distraction. We have to find a way to connect with young people, you know, as early as possible, because other people are, other things are. We have to find a way to connect with them and around what they're interested in, you know, because technology can be a good thing as well, because somebody has to program. Somebody have to code. And if young people are interested in that, well, let's feed that. Well, maybe they can code the next Madden game or the next Messi game or something like that. But at the same time, we know that we have to get them interested in athletics as well. Also, back in my archives, I was looking at the show you did with Mano and Sobi and them guys, and the dude in California, I forget his name, Jacobs. You know, I watched that show where, you know, and how, again, these are men who are elders to me, but what they were saying was so important and resonated with me, and in terms of how we connect with young people. You know, I think that it behooves all of us to make sure that we mentor young people, you know, and we spend time with them, because if we don't, somebody else will. And we may not exactly like or endorse what the activity that they engage in. And that is a very, very serious thing. One of the things I learned just out of life and professional development is how to do youth development work. You know, and that's something I enjoy, because as one of my elders said, you know, youth are 50% of the population, but they're 100% of the future.
That's right.
You hear that? Youth are 50% of the population, but they're 100 or whatever percent they be. It could be 30, it could be 40. But one thing's for sure, they're 100%. So we need to invest, you know, time, energy, talent, money in them, because if you and I are fortunate, Emma, to get to our 70s and 80s, they're the ones who, you know, are might depend on for the own cup of whatever to us. And hopefully they will do that, as opposed to kick out the cup out of our hand, because they say, okay, Emma cared, or Mano cared, or Job cared, or Meadow cared, or whoever it is. So, you know, to me, it beats the alternative, because what people say, boy, them picking egg, I can't take them picking egg. Well, I'm sure at some point in time somebody might have said that about me, you know. So, but we have to get closer and closer to them, so that we can help to nurture them, you know, in whatever their talent is. You know, I think we have an obligation to do just that. And, you know, for the remaining time that I have on this planet, you know, pouring into young people is something that, you know, is imperative for me. It's part of being that compassionate warrior that Granny told me about, not in those words. But so, again, Emma, I'm so pleased for the opportunity of reaching out and asking me to grace your presence, you know, and you know, you're a big brother to me, and I think I was going to go up me then. I think so. I know I've lost it, but I think you had a pleasure of going to go up me, so.
It's possible. It's all good. It's all good. Look, let me tell you, so it's a pleasure having you here with us, you know. And this is one of the features of this particular program, is to ensure that we let our viewers and people, as the same people that you're talking about, the younger ones, to know exactly who is who and what the contribution some of us have made. And start to put the face now to, to the literature or from what they've heard, and so let everybody know who's Jerome, right?
The body not taking over there, Jerome.
Meadow.
The body, the right here, Jerome, it was King Frankai, who was say, keep fit. Who Frankai used to put it? Keep fit.
Good sport.
Be a good sport.
Keep it.
One time, I scored one hat trick. One time I scored a hat trick in Premier League. You know what I mean? And that was amazing.
That is something to talk about and boast about.
Yeah.
It's not easy. He's not accomplished easy. Easy.
No.
But we also want to say, of course, Thursday coming. We put to rest our former Prime Minister, the Honorable Sir, Sylvester Brian Bird. On Thursday, so our condolences, I'm sure, from the diaspora, and and also from Talking Sports and from Antigua Parish League. Our condolences go out to the Birds family. I don't know if you want to make a little comment on that.
Absolutely.
He was also known as one of the best in the world at what he did. On
long jumpers, and not only that,
long jump.
made it here to Rochester as well, because when the first students who graduated from St. John Fisher College, the first Antiguan students, I should say, let me say their names. Dr. Lyndon Joseph from All Saints, Alfred Matthew, who I mentioned, and Miss Yuleen Thibault, when they graduated from Fisher in 1987. When Papa VC was given honorary Doctor of Letters, when the contingent that came, including Lester, and our now Governor General, Rodney Williams, Mr. Reuben Harris was also here. But my mother...
I was there too, right.
My mother, Joan Arnold, who worked in the registrar, most people who I'd say maybe... Over 45 years old, if they look at their birth paper, they're going to see my mother's signature on it. Maybe over 50. They're going to see mine because she worked as the registrar of the court. And her memory of Sylvester, when his first day, when he had passed the bar and he's going to be a lawyer, she said she walked him into the courtroom and told him, relax, everything will be all right. So, Mommy's still batting good at 83. I think Sylvester was 83 when he transitioned as well. But, as a national hero, certainly, condolences go out, I say from our family, the Underwood family, and to his family. And hopefully there's lots of things we can learn from his life and his legacy that will propel us to higher and higher heights.
Fantastic. And with those few words, man, once again, we want to thank you, Meadow, for appearing on Talking Sports. I think a lot of people know who started watching the show will leave it more than what before they started watching the show. So we just want to say simply on behalf of our executive producer, who is Taddy Arundel, along with our technician, Mark Charles, and along with our great sponsors, our partners, ACB Caribbean, Simply Smarter Banking, Blue Mountain Water from Mega Distributors, also Cecil Charles Group of Companies, Seco Pharmacy, and Hutchison, along with Plumbing and Electrical, and of course, last but not least, Brands for Less. We want to thank you very much for appearing, and we'll see you next week, Monday, on another exciting episode of Talking Sports.